Hi, boys and girls. This is Grandma Sheila. And yes, I have another story for you this week. The story is called Why Mother Got Thirsty. That's an interesting name. Darren, he lived in Australia. And you know, in Australia, things don't have the same names as they have here in America. Well, as a gift from his Aunt Beavie, he got what they call jumpers. Now, a jumper in America is called a sweater. Well, he got this lovely jumper. It was brown, and it had white and yellow and red patterns on it. Darren, he really liked that sweater. Well, not only had he gotten a sweater, but his two little brothers also got sweaters, and they were also really nice too. But they were all different bright colors, so every one of them was different. Aunt Beavie, she was very generous that year to them, and she had been very busy. Well, on this day, Darren, his two little brothers, and his mother were going shopping. Well, it sounded like it was kind of an exciting deal for all of them to get to go shopping together. So they got downtown and they started going into each shop and seeing what they had. And if it was something that they needed or wanted, they got it there at those little shops. Well, at noon, everybody was hungry. You know what it's like to go shopping with Mother, and it goes on and on and on till you're starved. Well, that's how they felt. So they stopped at a little restaurant to have lunch. Well, when they got inside and had sat down and were waiting for their food to come, it started to get hot. Well, you know how you can put a sweater on when you're going to go outside and walk down the streets, but when you come inside, it's extra warm. So all three boys took their sweaters off because it was just too warm to have them on in there. Well, lunch was really good, and they were glad they had stopped there. Well, when they got done eating, the two little boys put their sweaters on, and everybody started out the door. Well, then they started going again from shop to shop, and more than an hour had gone by when suddenly Mother, she looked at Darren and she said, "Where's your new sweater? This is the first time you've ever worn it. Where is it?" Well, Darren, he didn't know. He looked down and he felt of himself. Well, his sweater wasn't there, and it wasn't with the packages and things. He said, "I don't know. It's just gone. I must have left it somewhere or something." "Oh, Mother," she said, "what am I going to tell Aunt Beavie? That you lost it the first time you ever wore it?" Well, Darren, he felt really bad. He said, "I don't know, Mother. What am I going to tell Aunt Beavie?" Oh dear, this was a terrible situation. So Mother, she stood there and she said, "What shall we do?" Finally, Mother said, I think we should go back to all the stores we've been to since after lunch, because you had your sweater when we got to the restaurant, and so it had to have been left somewhere during the last hour. She said, we'll just have to backtrack. So all three boys and Mom started back the way they'd come down the street, going into every store and asking, have you seen a brown sweater with red and white and yellow markings on it? And every clerk said, no, we're really sorry, ma'am. We haven't seen any sweater like that. We'll keep an eye out, but we haven't seen anything like that. The next store they went in, and the answer was the same. In fact, they even looked in the lost and found, but it wasn't there. They went from shop to shop. Mother said, I don't know what else to do. I guess it's lost or somebody stole it. So Mother said, we have to meet Judy and her mother because they're going to shop with us from 3 o'clock on. So we better go back and keep shopping. So that's what they did. But they kept thinking about that lost jumper or sweater. Well, before long, it was 3 o'clock. And sure enough, Mother and the boys went to the place they were supposed to meet Mother's friend and her little daughter, Judy. Well, of course, the very first thing of conversation that came up was that lost sweater. And Mother said, I don't know what we're going to do. It's just gone. It's like it had just vanished. And oh my, his Aunt Beavy made it for him. And what will I say? And Devin said, it's not what you're going to say, Mom. It's what I'm going to say. What am I going to tell her? That I lost it? And I'm the oldest kid? So Mother, she turned to her friend and she said, I just don't know what to do. So the friend, she looked at Mother and she said, why don't you just go back to all the stores that you've been in and see if it's there? And Mother said, we've already done that. We did that before we came to meet you. It's nowhere. Somebody had to have stolen it. Well then, little 7-year-old Judy, she piped up and she said, have you asked Jesus to help you find it? And Mother was kind of taken back. She looked at her and she said, no, but I don't think that would do any good anyway. Somebody's probably stolen it. Well, if you're not going to ask Jesus, I will then. And she promptly bowed her head and asked Jesus to help them find it. Well then, just then, something really interesting started happening. Mother, she put her hand up on her mouth and her throat, and she said, I'm so thirsty. I just have to have something to drink. I'm so thirsty. Well, Mother's friend said, oh, it hasn't been that long since lunch. Let's just finish our shopping, and then we can go to my house and have something there. And while the kids were looking and thinking about this, Mother went, no, I have to have something to drink right now. Right now. My throat, it's so thirsty. I have to have something to drink. Well, Mother's friend said, well, I guess we'll have to look around for a place then. And then her friend pointed to another corner and she said, "There seems to be a little restaurant over there. Let's go over there and get something to drink for you then." So they headed that way. Took them a little while to get there. But when they got there, Darren said, "This is the place we were when we had lunch." And Mother, who was still holding her throat, said, "Yes, and it was good. Let's go in quick. I'm so thirsty. I can't stand it. I'm so thirsty." Well, they went inside, and while they were looking for a table to sit at, the lady at the counter, she said, "Weren't you people here at lunch?" And Mother, she was kind of embarrassed, but she looked up at the lady. She said, "Yes, we were, and we've come back for more." Well, the clerk, she just laughed. That was a funny thing to say. Well, they found a table then, and they all sat down. 3 boys, and Mother and her friend, and Judy. And they ordered something to drink. Well, when the lady came to bring it to their table, she looked at them and said, "You were here before, weren't you? Are you missing anything?" And Mother thought, and Darren thought, the sweater. And the lady at the counter, hearing their conversation, held it up. And sure enough, it was a brown sweater with red, yellow, and white patterns on it. And Darren said, "That's my sweater." And the lady smiled. She said, "I think it is." And so Darren hopped up and he got it. Well, Mother, she suddenly wasn't thirsty anymore. But they all drank their drinks anyway. And Mother said, "That was a strange experience." And Judy said, "I know who made you thirsty." And boys and girls, it seems rather odd, but sometimes Jesus uses us to answer someone's prayer. If Mother had not gotten thirsty, and that terrible thirst, they would have never found Darren's sweater. But the other thing was, then everybody knew who it was that had made Mother thirsty and who helped them find Darren's sweater. Yes, it was Jesus. Thank you, boys and girls, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.